All right, welcome back everyone to this recap of the week session. This is a unique session because in this recap of the week, we're going to dive deeper into the last 2 weeks of trades because we only had 3 trades in the last 2 weeks, being one loss, one break even, and one win. It took a time since we had our last loss. We had our last loss February 14th, and now April 11th was the loss we experienced. So GBP NZD was an interesting trade. You can check out the track record for sure. But let's go and take a look. Let's go to student section. You can see it here on the picture, the arrow that we took and why we took it. So of course, if you're watching this video, you know our strategy already. I'm not wasting too much time on that, or you should know our strategy. So, and if you don't, check out the other videos I have about the strategy. It's like pretty short and simple. What we see here is we were trading, and of course, if you took this one, that's fine, but the pullback was not the full 2 days. Let's recap for those that are new. We have 3 simple steps. The first step is we want to have a dark shade arrow. The second step is a 2-day pullback. And the third step is an M or a W pattern. So our dark shade arrow will indicate an entry point. So this is our dark shade arrow. Here you have another one, but we're not going to take every single arrow. To determine if the dark shade arrow is a good arrow, we look at price action just before. And the price action just before, if we had a last 2 days of significant pullback, it's interesting to take a look. Now here we have 1 day and 14 hours. And if you're experienced, if you have some, knowledge about market structure, etc., you might take this trade. I'm not saying this is a bad trade, but according to our rules, we are not going to take it because it doesn't have the 2-day pullback. Okay, now let's just, for the sake of analyzing this, let's go a little deeper. The M or the W. Since we're looking to buy, we are looking for a W, and a W looks exactly like this. To be honest, I like my second low to be higher though. I like to have a higher low there. These are equal, which is fine. I just like to have a higher low. So that's basically what we do. Then when you enter the trade, you just trade, right here you enter, you put your stop loss below the lowest point, and then we trade a 1 to 2. Right, halfway at a 1 to 1 is where we take our first, that's actually our first target. That's where we will go break even. And that's basically the strategy. Okay, so to break it down, the trades we took, if you look at this arrow right here, cool, 2 days before, we didn't, this is only 1 day and 30 minutes. So that's not significant in terms of a pullback. Then the next arrow is only 1 day and 7 hours. So I'm not taking that either. And then this one, this is 2 days. So on this one, we can take a look, analyze a bit further. So we have an arrow, we have a pullback for at least 2 days, but do we have a strong W? And I don't really like the way that this is looking. You have the lowest point right here. There you have that. This is not really what I'm looking at. Of course, I look at the wicks personally. So this is the wick right here. As you can see, if you look at the wicks, we have, I'll put it to the side, we have a higher low, right? So the second leg of my W is a higher low right here. But if you then look at the bodies, you can see that doesn't make sense. So I don't like the way this looks. And we definitely didn't take this trade. It was also in the middle of the night, so that's good. And then it continued down. But then the next arrow is where it starts to, be a little more interesting because we created a new low. And if we go through the steps now, we have a dark shade arrow. We have more than a 2-day pullback, I believe. This price has been pulling back since like right here. This is 2 days and 2 hours, even more. And then we have our W, which is the third step. That's a pretty strong W. So this is where we enter the trade. And the stop loss is pretty big. It's 150 pips. I usually don't take these bigger stop losses, but with the market conditions and everything, the way the fast pace it was actually moving, we decided to take it anyway. If you didn't, that's fine, and you didn't have this loss. But if you did, it's also fine. This is our first target, and we didn't hit it at all. It didn't even came close. We just entered, and it consolidated for like the full. How much time is this? 6 hours of just consolidation, nothing. And then it wicked down. There was no news event whatsoever. I was a bit confused. I was like, what's happening? But there was no news event. It just wicked down, and that's just what it is. So that's this loss right here. As you can see, you can take a look. We called it right here, whatever it is. We gave some updates, and that's the first loss we had in about 8 weeks. So that's the first trade. The second trade we took was NZD CHF. You can open this one up as well. And with NZD CHF, we can see that we went to target 1, and then we wicked with Euro CPI news. And I know some of you probably pulled it out before, which is great. The economic calendar. What date was this? April 16th. So let's do this week. Apply. And let's do only high impact news. So we were trading NZD CHF. So usually when I trade NZD CHF, I only look at news events from NZD or on CHF, right? Now, of course, if you have like major CPI, USD, FOMC crazy news, then the strong USD news will affect all markets, and I will get those trades out as well. Now, what we see is on April 16th is we had this right here, a Euro CPI. And I was like, it's Euro, whatever. I'm trading NZD, CHF. I'm not going to be too worried about it. So I just stayed in. I just kept my trade open. And what happened is we pulled back very fast with that news event. We hit break even, and then we lowered down to take profit. So if you pulled out an hour before the news, you pulled out around right here, which is like a little over 3% profit. Risking 2% is this like a little over 3% profit, which is amazing. If you didn't, you just had a break even, like myself, like I added into this track record. Okay, you can see a full breakdown. If you pulled out before the news, this was a 3.2%, but I didn't personally, so I didn't count that as a win in the track record. I just counted that as 0% profit. And that's basically NZD CHF. And then the last trade we took was right here, Euro USD. This was a pretty simple trade. As you can see, we have a 2-day pullback. We have our W, and the market just shot up. I can, go to the actual market as well for this one. As you can see right here, this is the only arrow we had recently. So you get the arrow. That's the first step. Second step is you look 2 days back. Right here, this is 2 days, right? It's just 2 days of pullback, 2 days of price movement down. And then what we have here is we see a pretty clean W, the way I like it. Like I said, I like to have this as my lowest low. This is always my lowest low, first leg of that W. And then I like to see the second one being higher And then ideally, this neckline here is broken as well, creating another higher high. Now, if you look at that trade, you had the opportunity to enter, and you had a lot of time to do that. Like if we drop down time frame, you had a lot of time to enter that trade, right? Because we pulled back before we left off. So we pulled back in a little bit of drawdown. If you were like, let's measure this, you had like a full hour to get into this trade, even with a better entry, right? So our target will be 1 to 2, right there. If you got in with a better entry, your risk to reward can be even better. Maybe you got in like 5 minutes late. If you were 5 minutes late, you're trading a 1 to 3. If you're 10 minutes late, it's about the same, So it's pretty good. Sometimes a trade just leaves off pretty fast and then you miss the entry, which is not ideal. In this case, we had a full hour of opportunity to look at our phone, enter the trade, and even have a better entry, just because it took 2 candles over here to the downside before we left off. But then once we started shooting, it just shot up like crazy, didn't come back, and eventually hit our target of 4% profit. Of course, some hold on to this for longer. If you really understand market structure, you can hold on to that for longer. But for this strategy and to keep it simple for everyone, we just do a 1 to 2. We're in, we're out, and we are happy with our profits. So that explains this trade of 2% risk, 4% gain. Yeah, nothing much to say about that. It's pretty simple, pretty easy. And that's basically what we have been doing. So it's not that many trades. It's just about, 3 trades over the last 2 weeks. But less is more. That's really the mantra we go with. If you want to do more, you can. You can, learn about market structure. You can take your take profits further. You can go and hit lower time frames. You can do a lot of things with this tool. But just for the simplicity, I like to have a few trades a week that are highly accurate, just like you can see right here. The amount of wins and the amount of losses you see is highly, highly accurate. So you have less emotions, less losses, less, stress. You just take the trade when it comes and you take only the valid trades. So you have the highest chance of being very, very profitable. So that being said, this was the recap of the last 2 weeks. The track record now, after 93 trades, we have 14 losses. So that's pretty good. 276% in total gain. And this is over the last few months that we have been trading with this track record. I would say definitely study the track record, study the ebook and all the other resources that we have. And of course, if you have any questions at all, just shoot me a message on Instagram, WhatsApp, whatever. My information is online, everywhere to find. So shoot me a message, ask any question you want, and we'll see each other in the next video. Thank you.